and Mr. Turley stopping here on his way to his next Fox News hit. This is not a serious inquiry.
What an incredible display. 4 months and what feels like maybe years now, Republicans have been calling to impeach Joe Biden. For what? I don't know. They don't even know. Their own witnesses don't even know. As I'll get to these clips, no one really knows why the hell this is going on. So in the midst of all of this, Democrats just, to my surprise, because often, they trip over their own feet. They're not always great at strategy, always great at messaging. But in this case, members of the Democratic Party, as I'll show you in these clips, did a fantastic job showcasing how much of a sham this entire Biden impeachment thing is. So I have several clips to get to here. It's about, 7 or 8. They're quick clips, so, there's not much to even work with here because Republicans have nothing to work with. But with the time that Democrats had, they did just an amazing job. Let me start here with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, just very easily, very quickly laying out how much of a sham this entire thing is.
Mr. Turley, I have a simple question for you. In your testimony today, are you presenting any firsthand witness account of crimes committed by the President of the United States?
No, I'm not.
No, you are not. Ms. O'Connor, you are the second Republican witness here today. Have you, in your testimony, presented any firsthand witness account of crimes committed by the President of the United States?
I have not.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Dubinsky, as the third and final Republican witness in this hearing, have you, in your testimony, presented any firsthand witness account of crimes committed by the President of the United States?
I have not.
So these are the 3 big Republican witnesses, the best people they could find to bring evidence against Joe Biden and all of his criminality for this impeachment. None of them have any firsthand account of anything. In fact, let me go I'm going to skip ahead here to a clip from one of those witnesses, Jonathan Turley, who's often a Fox News contributor. And this guy, again, deep Republican on Fox News all the time. Listen to what he says.
This is a question of an impeachment inquiry. It is not a vote on articles of impeachment. In fact, I do not believe that the current evidence would support articles of impeachment. That is something that an inquiry has to establish.
So one of the big 3 witnesses here saying that the evidence does not support impeachment. Again, this is a Republican witness. This guy has defended Trump against everything. He's on here. He can't even find the pretend evidence to make up some charges against Joe Biden because even that would be too far for him. It's so incredible how much of a waste of time, how much of a sham this is. And you may be wondering, well, then why is this even going on if clearly there's nothing underneath any of this? Let me get to Maxwell Frost because he breaks it down very clearly. He starts, before I get to his clip, let me set it up here. He starts by sharing this little board here. So he discusses how, the far right has called for this impeachment for Joe Biden. And then on September 1st, McCarthy was very clear saying, no, we're not going to hold impeachment for Biden. There's no reason to. Now we get to Maxwell Frost and what changed since then.
12 precious days later, something happens. I'm not sure what, but something happens because then the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, comes out and says, yes, we will do an impeachment inquiry. So what happened between these 12 days? It's very simple. 3 threats from members of his own caucus at the direction of former President Donald Trump changed his mind. Number 1, the threat to force a vote on impeachment, which would lose on the House floor and be another embarrassment in the long list of embarrassments this Congress for the Speaker of the House. Number 2, they would threat to shut down the government, something that will happen in just 2 days. And number 3, and this is the one that really got to him, they said, you about to lose your job. And they said, we will remove you as Speaker from the House. And that scared him so much that Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House of the United States of Representatives, third in line of the presidency, completely caved due to the threats of people within his own caucus.
Kevin McCarthy caved because he's afraid of losing his own job. That's it. He doesn't care about evidence. He doesn't care about the reality. He just cares about his own seat. He cares about his own position as speaker. That's it. So that's why he's caved to this. And it's amazing because he went along with the impeachment. Like the whole point of him, I guess initially, at least it seemed this way, the whole point of him going along with the impeachment was to avoid a government shutdown. But Republicans are still planning to shut the government down. So him caving on the impeachment didn't stop the government shutdown. That's still going on. But now he's very worried about being removed. So he's caving to all of it, and in a hope to save his job. Maxwell Frost did such a good job that I'm going to show you one more clip from him. This is a moment that, I don't know, this stands out really because of the reaction from the witness, but it's fun to watch.
Mr. Chairman, you say this hearing is to establish the basis for this fake sham impeachment hearing, but these witnesses are not giving us any basis or giving us any evidence or giving us any solutions.
Mr. Turley
They are giving us
several times.
I reclaim my time.
I have to stop because that's not a true statement.
I reclaim my time. These witnesses are not giving any answers. They're just asking more questions. We have one witness who has a lot of questions, Ms. O'Connor. Dubinsky, one witness who knows something about accounting but has no real involvement in what's going on. And Mr. Turley stopping here on his way to his next Fox News hit. This is not a serious inquiry.
I'm going to put up the reaction there again from Ms. O'Connor. I don't even know why she was triggered by that. Yes, Jonathan Turley's on Fox News all the time. He's a Fox News contributor. Why is this stunning information to you that Maxwell Frost brought this up? I mean, just a great job there at both offending the chair there, James Comer, as well as the witnesses with just basic facts. Now, let me show you. I got a few more clips because the Democrats during this hearing really turned it around on Republicans and showed everybody who the real corrupt individuals are. Let's start here with Robert Garcia. So Robert Garcia pointing out, why are we focusing on Joe Biden's son who wasn't even in government instead of focusing on Donald Trump and his family?
And what I want to know is why we're not actually investigating real family corruption. They want to attack President Biden's family, who actually never worked in the White House, which is incredibly hypocritical. Yet we have not yet talked about these guys that actually worked in the White House. And in fact, I want to talk about Jared Kushner, who's right over here. We know that Jared Kushner, who's Donald Trump's son-in-law, was given enormous power in the White House. When Jared joined the White House, he was so unfit and unqualified and with so many conflicts of interest, he couldn't even get a security clearance. His father-in-law, Donald Trump, had to intervene, overriding national security officials. We also know that just months after Jared left the White House, the Saudi royal family gave him $2 billion, with a B, into the Kushner hedge fund. And right now, Jared is pocketing an additional $25 million a year in fees. This is a man who was put at the head of Middle East policy in the White House. We know he personally intervened to give the Saudis a $110 billion arms deal that was opposed by folks all across the government.
This is something that I've pointed out over and over again. Just the obvious corruption here with Jared Kushner and even Chris Christie, who's running as a Republican candidate for president. Even Chris Christie pointing this out again and again. The obvious corruption of Jared Kushner getting billions of dollars from the Saudis after working with them while he was in government. Can you imagine that's what Hunter Biden did? If Hunter Biden worked with Joe Biden or worked with Obama, worked directly with the Saudis as he was in government and then left government and got $2 billion. Can you imagine if that had happened? That would be a real story. I would be supporting whatever criminality, whatever repercussions come with that sort of behavior, regardless of whatever party it is. Jared Kushner did it. And Republicans are focused on Hunter Biden and a laptop, a guy that was not in government. Joe Biden having nothing to do with any of this. It's all backwards. And that becomes even more clear in the next clip. This is Gerry Connolly, who plays a bit of a game here with the witness, asking just a great question. But look at the way he frames this.
Hold on to those two words, distract and deflect. because I think this hearing's all about look over here, not over there. So, Professor Gerhardt, I've heard concern about branding. So, shouldn't we be concerned about all those Biden towers all over the world where foreign partnerships were formed and influence was used here in the United States? I've seen these towers in Indonesia, in the Philippines, in Turkey. I even saw one in Chicago. Shouldn't that be a source of concern of this committee in terms of influence, both foreign and domestic, when President Biden became president?
If there were such things as Biden buildings.
Well, was there anyone who did have them?
I think we all know who had.
Well, could you tell us? Because,
Well,
just give me the name, Professor
I think if
Gerhardt.
we're talking about Mr. Trump.
Thank you.
Connolly having some fun here, helping to really contextualize how much of a sham this entire thing is when you have someone like Donald Trump who clearly was involved in a lot of corruption, and Joe Biden, they can't even their own witnesses can't find anything. And then Connolly goes on to also do the same sort of, verbal maneuver when it comes to Jared Kushner versus Hunter Biden, pretending, hey, how about, Joe Biden's son who got $2 billion from the Saudis after working with them in government? Like, it's just, man, anyone objective looking at this, it's very clear, right? It has to be very clear where the actual corruption took place and how that's not being addressed. Let me get to, this is Greg Casar. So this is, I think, my last clip. I have a fun one near the end that I'll also show you. But the last big clip here, this is really, I think this is a great clip to end on, because he puts a question here to the committee, and look how they respond.
Will members of the Oversight Committee please raise your hand if you believe both Hunter and Trump should be held accountable for any of the indictments against them, if convicted by a jury of their peers? We can take a minute. No, it's serious. This is a serious matter. If you all need to think about it, we can take a moment and think about it. It is serious. This is very serious. Think about it. Should both Hunter and Trump be held accountable? I want to see whether you'd raise your hands. Should Hunter and Trump both be held accountable if they are found guilty on any of their indictments? Raise your hand if you think that equal justice under the law applies and Trump should be held accountable. I think it is worse than embarrassing that Republicans won't raise their hands. They refuse to say that equal justice under the law should apply to everyone.
That right there gives away the entire game. I fully support equal justice for both Hunter Biden and Donald Trump. If they both committed acts that are criminal, that they should be, put in jail or whatever the repercussions are, then yes, both of them should face those repercussions. Republicans cannot, because they know for them this is all a game. Few last things here. Maxwell Frost on Twitter writing, GOP leadership thought this impeachment inquiry would distract from the fact that they are shutting down the government in 2 days. There's no evidence, so this is a boring waste of time, a complete snoozer. Half of the audience cleared out, no line outside, and lots of press left. If this impeachment inquiry was like a serious thing, you would see full crowds, lines, people, crowds outside, people talking about this. This is, everyone knows. I think even Republican voters know this is completely nothing. But you have here this entire, this is like a 7-hour stream, which, by the way, I got to give credit to Aiken. I never know how to say his name, but he clipped out all the clips that I used. I think the vast majority of them he clipped on Twitter. There's no way I could have watched 7 hours of this, so I'm very thankful for people like Aiken and Aaron Rupar and others that do that work. Because it's just, when it comes to these sorts of committee hearings, ones that are snooze fest like this one, I'm very thankful for people like this to clip these clips out. But a couple last things I just want to show that are not worth showing the entire clip, but I want to mention them. Summerlee did a great job showcasing how the government's going to shut down in a couple days because of Republicans, and she mentions each of the Republicans on the committee, how many of their constituents are going to miss paychecks because of that. So she goes through, each person. Jim Jordan, for example, his district, the shutdown will cost $3,939 of his constituents through paychecks. Marjorie Taylor Greene, 6,306 of her constituents will lose their paychecks. So really helping to, personalize this for each of the members and just the direct impact that they are going to have on their constituents by shutting the government down. Last thing, this is the fun clip I want to show you. I may not even show a full screen because it's 12 seconds long, but I just laughed because it's fun.
And we see the long arm, but little hands of Mr. Donald Trump, whose fingerprints are all over this hearing and this sham impeachment.
The long arm and little hands of Donald Trump. This goes to, and by the way, that was Melanie Stansbury. This goes to the fun, and I think this showcased well the fun that these Democrats had during all of this, at least whatever fun they could find, because they realize how ridiculous this entire thing is, how much a waste of time it all is. So while you're ducking on Republicans, while you're exposing their corruption, you might as well have fun while doing it. And I think it helps to really communicate that message. When it comes to politics and just learning generally, I think comedy is the best vehicle for a lot of that. So it's good to see Democrats, dabble in that a little bit while, not being too ridiculous, but it's good to see some fun being had there. I don't know if this is going to go on. Like, is there going to be an actual impeachment vote? Because from what I'm reading, they're not going to hold a vote, at least not yet, because even Republicans don't have the votes. So even though they control the House, they don't have enough of their own caucus willing to actually vote for impeachment, because they all know this is a complete waste of time, a complete sham. So I don't know where things go from here. I guess the government's going to be shut down because of them. But apart from that, in terms of this impeachment, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see where this all goes.